The fourth Forinthry season has come to a close and it's leading into the new Necromancy season. I thought it would be a perfect time to reflect on the fourth Forinthry season and see if it was actually any good. So, let's talk about it. Yo, what's going on guys? My name's Chevalric and today I want to be talking about fourth Forinthry and if it was actually any good. I'm pretty sure we had all the buildings and quests that is related to the fort. However, I do think we might get some more in the future, but definitely not anytime soon with Necromancy coming up and stuff and everything that will introduce. But by the sounds of it, we might get some more, but the entire season, the actual defined season is over now and we're going to move into the Necromancy season. So I thought it would be a perfect time to review it and give my thoughts on it. But I want to know your thoughts as well in the comment section down below. Do you like this? Did you like this seasonal approach more than the last one? Do you like the buildings? Do you think it was an absolute waste of time? Let me know. I'm genuinely really curious, and of course, about the quest as well. Leave a like, subscribe if you're new. We're going to have a lot of Necromancy content coming to this channel, so you definitely don't want to miss it. Let's just jump right into it. So, first things first, I just want to give a general opinion on the whole seasonal concept of this fort, because it's not a new thing, but it's something that's been up for debate ever since the first Elder God Wars season, and then the Legacy of Zamorak season, and now the fourth season. Some people just don't like it, and I can understand why. Back in the day, we just get random quests, random updates here and there, and it would just build on all these different types of storylines. But personally, I kind of do like the aimed approach on one storyline, especially from a point of view from a more casual player, which obviously I am not, but I can see it from a more casual player point of view, because they're more in tune about what's happening, and they don't have to do 10 quests to be able to catch up with this new update. Everyone can just jump in. You might have to do 1 or 2 quests or build 1 or 2 buildings, and then you can move on to what's just been released. And I think that's really nice. I've talked to some players that haven't played in a while and just jumped in, and they said this season is actually perfect to be able to just jump into and be in tune with what's going on in the game. So I generally do like from that perspective, but I do wish that in the future they do continue on some of the older storylines that have not been finished. I think that would be really, really cool to see, but we'll have to wait and see. But I also kind of do like that it isn't just, oh, if the update doesn't fit in with the fort, we won't be able to do the update at all. We've had updates that had nothing to do with the fort as well, which I think is cool. Like, for example, all these hit listings or quality of life updates that have been happening. It wasn't necessarily attached to the fort yet. There was one that we'll speak about a little bit later. But I just want to kind of go through all the quests, buildings, or whatever. It will be a bit of a longer video, but I hope you guys do not mind. So, first things first was the new Foundations quest. The quest that introduced us to the fort. And honestly, that quest, nothing too special. It's kind of there to just lay the foundations, no pun intended, for the fort and the storyline and everything that goes on with it. Did nothing to really write home about, but it's kind of like a necessary evil. It has to be there for you to be able to get the entire story eventually. It's just a building block for future things. So I don't really want to smash it too much into the ground because it's just there, right? Next up is the workshop, and I feel like that is kind of in that category as well. It kind of just needs to be there because the workshop is the central place where you will be creating all the blueprints for the buildings and your logs into refined planks and into those frames that you need to build the buildings. It's also, just like the quest, something that just needs to be there and is a necessary evil or whatever. I do think it's cool that they introduce some invention things where you can remotely access your machines and also gather more energy for it, for the machine, so you can build more machines and stuff. I think that's cool and all, but overall, yet again, just like the quest, the workshop is nothing to write home about. I think the town hall, which is the next building, is something that I think is just very underwhelming and not really that great. It gives you rested experience, which pretty much means as long as you're skilling in the fort, you will get bonus experience if you talk to this NPC, which I think is cool. Like, I do like the whole, you can put bonus experience on any skill, and that really helps you, especially if you don't want to interact with Treasure Hunter, for example. I think that's a good thing, and I like that part. And you also get rest experience when you're not logged in, so not playing is meta, question mark. It's a very little amount, but I do think it's nice, especially if you haven't played for a little while. It can give you that little boost in whatever skill you might put it on for you to be able to catch up on whoever, right? Like, I think that is fine, but that is everything that it really offers, and I think that is very underwhelming, and it just doesn't really offer anything. I think they could have done more with it. I can't think of something just on the top of my head, but it's kind of there, and why couldn't you just give it from another building as an extra, right? Like, I just don't really see the whole purpose of that building. But hey-oh, it looks pretty, and it got an attachment in the kitchen, which we'll talk about in just a second. But yeah, the other buildings unreleased were the chapel and the command center. I think the chapel is in the category of, it doesn't apply to me, but I can see it's a good thing. It's the best place to trade prayer. It's the best place to pretty much go when you need to train prayer. And someone who has 99 prayer and eventually will go for 120 prayer, but I don't really care for it. But I have talked to people that don't have 99 prayer and that just in general just need to train it. They like it. It's a nice place to go. It's your best in slot. You can do it with other people. And of course, I know people will say you had houses and houses will die now. I'm personally not a fan of instances. I think everything should be in the overworld. I also think we should half the amount of worlds so the worlds feel more packed out. But it is what it is. It's a nice place to go when you train prayer. And it's just good. It's just like a middle of the road building. Doesn't apply to me, but it's definitely nice for the people who still need it. One thing that did apply to me, and I think is a great building, is the command center. It's a one-stop shop for everything you need when you need to manage things. Whether it's your archaeology group, your ports, your anachronia, or your miscellanea. You can go there, and it also gives you extra buffs as well. Whether that's extra success rates with ports, or more workers for anachronia, or more resources from archaeology. All that is just really cool, and it's nice to have that in one place. I generally think that's a really good building. More so for the comp players and people that go for trim comp, or even Iron Man for that matter. I think it's good for that point of view, and I generally think that really added something, and it's a nice niche thing to have, but I love it. But next up is the Murder on the Border quest, which is the first proper Fort Forinthry quest. And honestly, it's a murder mystery quest, and I feel like this is more of one of those quests that is more fun for the developers than for us as players. Because I think the majority of us players with a murder mystery in RuneScape, it's literally just talk to this person, then 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 talk to this person, quest finished. That's kind of how it goes for us. But I understand that for a developer, it's fun to develop, like, how are we gonna put everything together and stuff, but there's not really any combat in it, there are no puzzles in it, there's nothing really in it, and I think it's quite just boring, and I think it's the perfect example of a spacebar quest, and yeah, no, that's legit. I'm just not too keen on it. It also introduced the kitchen, which in my opinion just falls into the same category as the chapel. It's better experience, it will be your best way to train cooking, it's next to a bank, etc. It's just a replacement of portable cookers or portable ranges or whatever the hell they're called, which you can still use there and put down and get the best in slot experience in the kitchen. It is what it is. As I said, same category as the chapel, doesn't apply to me. It is nice to have, whatever. A little break of the whole Fort Forinthry is the yak track. I personally am a fan of yak tracks, which probably people will get angry and up in arms about it because whatever, it's an MTX thing, but I like how you could just play the game and just completely sass, do these random skills and give you a little bit of a purpose to train skills and get some nice rewards for it. Whether it's some bonus experience, experience slam, some money, whatever it might be that you get from the tier you're on, and obviously the cosmetics you get from it. And I do like how the cosmetics are themed about this entire season. It really did fit in, and I just like it, right? Like, I just personally really like it. I see why people do not like it, but yeah, no, I'm a fan, and if you ever do a yak track in the future, definitely do the task that it's telling you to do. So not the skill and kill, but train construction or train woodcutting, and you'll just level up your skills very naturally, and it's nice. I do think that this one did have a lot of repeat tasks, and I really hope that in the future they will, mix it up a little bit more. But it was alright, and I do like the theme around the fort. So next up is something else. The first, I guess, proper quest that I feel like was a quest, besides obviously the Murder on the Border, which felt like a really standalone quest, is the Unwelcome Guest quest, which is the first quest with the Raptor, reintroducing the Raptor as a character. It's been in RuneScape for a little while, but introducing it and you having to defend your fort, which obviously is the whole purpose why you build it, to defend it from these unwelcome guests, and introducing new Slayer creatures through this quest, because I always like it when things are introduced with a more story-focused or story-driven way to do so than just have an update block and be like, hey guys, we have like 3 new Slayer creatures, you can find them in these areas, have fun, bye-bye. They were introduced, the gas, the zombies, and the warriors or whatever, in the quest. Even though you don't really have to fight them, they are shown in the quest and how they got there, and I just always like that touch, and that always gives you one up in my books, at least personally, when it comes to this kind of stuff, and I'm a fan of that. Like, I think the quest in general was okay. It left a lot of questions about what is behind that dragonkin door across the bridge, which thankfully got answered in the Dead and Buried quest. And it also introduced the guardhouse, which in general, it's a bit better than the chapel, I'm not gonna lie, because it gives you more damage for Slayer creatures, it gives you some other abilities regarding Slayer creatures. I think that's fine, and obviously you unlock the Raptor as a Slayer Master as well. It's, yet again, something that doesn't really apply to me. I already have 120 Slayer, so who cares? I guess it will be nice for when I will go for the Slayer Codex, when I go for Trimmed Completion Escape, but besides that, not too special, but it's definitely a good thing, and I like the upgrades. They're strong, and they're nice for the people that it applies to. Another thing that I really liked about this, and I think is a great example of a completion escape requirement, is collecting the head. So the Raptor has a heads challenge where you need to do consecutive Slayer tasks to be able to get a special Slayer task that you can get a head from. You need to do 3 of them, and that way you actually interact with the Slayer Master, especially as a comp player, because quite frankly, if you didn't have it, then if you already have 120 Slayer, you don't have to do Raptor Slayer, and it would just be dead content. And because the heads give like a slight buff as well, it's just really nice to have them. And I just think it's good. It gives you extra points, it gives you extra task length and stuff. It's a really nice little niche thing, and it's a nice completion escape requirement. And I do definitely want to give Jagex kudos on that one. Next up is the Woodcutter's Grove, and something that's a bit more special to me, because obviously I was able to play it early because of the video that I did with Jagex, which still thank you so much for giving me that opportunity. I really do appreciate it. It brought the Candle Hatchet and mainly a total rework to woodcutting. And honestly, the Woodcutter's Grove on its own, just introducing the Candle Hatchet, is alright. It's okay, and it's whatever. But the woodcutting rework that it introduced as well, it just changed the meta. It just changed the game, and I really do like it. And I do see it as one, because I feel like the Woodcutter's Grove wouldn't exist without a woodcutting rework, and vice versa. The woodcutting rework would probably not exist if it wasn't for the fort, because it took a lot of time to do, and obviously the fort being the main thing, and them having to make another building for the fort that makes sense. It's kind of connected, at least in my mind. One thing that I do have to say about the Woodcutter's Grove, I feel like out of all the buildings, this one is the most misunderstood one. And I think that's actually because the communication Runescape has been doing surrounding it. As I said, I have played this beforehand, and I was able to talk to the developer on this project. And they pretty much told me that, because I got a sheet sent to me, right? Where it said, oh, this will be the one-stop shop for everything. And then I said that to the developer, and they were like, oh, that's not the case. Wait up. It's a nice place to train, but it's not going to be the place you train from 1 to 99. You can do it, but we still want you to venture out in the world and go to other places. So I think people kind of misunderstood that. It was never intended to be this one-stop shop for woodcutting. But hey, I do think it's a really nice place, besides looking really pretty. I also think what it did for woodcutting as a whole was amazing, and I don't think any of the rework or the Woodcutter's Grove are exclusive to each other. So I fit them into each other, and I just think it's been good. Like, it's just generally been a good building. And lastly is the Dead and Buried quest, which in my opinion is a top tier quest. I really did enjoy it. I think the puzzles were fun. I think the story in the quest was fun. The music was amazing, by the way. If you haven't played the quest, definitely turn on the music. Especially the dream sequence is incredible. But yeah, the puzzles were a lot of fun to do. I figured them out on my own, and I have noticed that I have more of an affinity with quests where I need to do the puzzles on my own than just following a guide. So obviously in the future I will have to do it, but maybe a suggestion for people. Try to figure them out on your own. They're very satisfying, especially if they're not too difficult like these ones. And the accessibility mode on the puzzle is incredible, and I'm really happy that they introduced it, and that just makes me really happy as someone who's really fighting for accessibility changes in RuneScape. And overall, the reveal of the Raptor being the Queen of Mistalin, in my opinion, was really good. However, in the community in general, there was a lot of controversy surrounding it, and to me, look, okay, here's the thing. I don't think that they should have changed the model of the character. It's a magical world. You could say that because she's in that suit, she got all this buff and whatever. You can think of all of it. You don't need to change the suit to fit it to a female character. I don't like it because it just kind of takes away from the impressiveness and intimidationness of the Raptor. But you can make it a woman. It generally reminded me of Metroid Prime Samus, which also, by the way, sounds like a man when they talk. And when they look like something very strong. But inside of that suit is a woman. And I think that could be the exact same thing with the Raptor. But write it a little bit better regarding that stuff. But I don't think it's something shoehorned in, because that's been a theme around this entire questline as well. It's like it's shoehorned or forced inclusivity, and I don't like forced inclusivity, by the way, where, you know, introducing, for example, a character that is gay as a afterthought. I don't like when they do that. I don't think it's a fair thing to the people that are in the minority groups to just be shoehorned and be like, oh yeah, we need a gay person, so here you go, whatever. I think it should be well written, and I think overall in these quests, it hasn't been perfectly written, but overall I think it's been well done, and it hasn't just been sticking out like a sore thumb, at least to me personally. But other people could think about it differently, but I also feel like it's just something that just needs to be there, and I think it's good that it's there. And I know that the community, that, you know, the LGBT community really feels included into the game because of it, and I think that's something very beautiful. But back to the Dead and Buried quest, it also introduced a Ranger's Workroom, and I think out of all of these buildings, this one is by far the worst. Sure, it gives you better fletching experience, but besides that, it introduces something that I don't like, is a quality of life through a unlock, which should just be an update on its own. Dino Arrows has been a pain, or God Arrows has been a pain in the bum to be able to craft for the longest time now, and then they lock it behind the fact that you need to be able to do it through, well, this building. You need to get tier 3, and then you need to craft 7,500 of them, and then you get the better rates, where I think it should just be an update where they just change it, and I just don't like it. And I think the workroom is just very underwhelming. It's just, it isn't it for me. But overall, I think they did a good job with this season. I don't think it's anything amazing. I don't think it's anything to write home about. I do think it's really cool to just see how the fort develops, how it looks, how, you know, you start with this barren wasteland and then it looks like this amazing, cool estate, kind of, that you build. I love that. But overall, I just think it's good, and I think there's a lot to be improved on. I think a lot of the buildings are kind of underwhelming, and I think they could have done a better job. I do like all the passive buffs, though, that you get from it, and a way to just level up your character with passive unlocks. I always like that in the game, but certain things like the Dino Arrow shouldn't be a passive unlock. That should just be a quality of life fix. And in general, I think it's a good thing, and I really hope that they learn from the mistakes that they make and then move on to a better thing, especially with Necromancy coming up. But yeah, that is just my opinion. Leave a like on the video if you did enjoy it. Subscribe if you are new. Let me know your opinion in the comment section down below. And my name is Chevalric, and I shall see you guys in my next video.